So, really quick, if you haven't seen my earliest episode from this morning, a Mahani Emporium Master, make sure you check that episode out, because on that episode, I urge you, do not sleep on this commander, and you'll find out why if you watch it. But don't leave just yet, because we have a really fun commander on this episode that is completely different from that other one, and yeah, this is a commander that I'm sure many players out there are really excited for. So with all that said, let's jump into it. So this episode is on Gorion Wise Mentor, a 3/4 human wizard for green, white, blue. So yes, a Bant commander that is very low to the ground, and it has vigilance, but that's not the important part. The important part is whenever you cast an adventure spell, you may copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. That's right, we finally have an adventure commander, and a very exciting one at that. Now, adventures originally came from Throne of Eldraine, but we haven't had a commander for adventure decks just yet up until this point, and now also in this set, of course, we're also getting even more adventure cards. This commander can give us a ton of value throughout the game, again, copying an adventure spell, and yeah, again, adventure spells already give us a lot of value because, again, we go on an adventure, and we can still cast the actual creature part of that spell. So now instead we are basically getting a 3-for-1 out of one card, again getting that adventure twice and then also getting the creature so when we decide to cast that. And of course there are ways to get even more value out of our commander and even more value out of our adventure spells. And again, on top of that, like I mentioned, throughout this set we are getting more and more adventures, and I'm sure that's a mechanic that they'll go back to at some point even after this set. So the more adventures obviously they get added to your pool, or should I say, your Bant pool of adventure spells, the more powerful this commander can become. But even just with our current pool of adventure spells, there are still some amazing things that you can do with this commander, and if you're set up correctly, some very, very, very impactful things as well. Now, when a new and unique commander like this one is spoiled and players get excited about it, well, typically cards that work well with that commander might go up in price pretty quickly. So in the description below, I've included a link to the list of cards I'm going to be talking about in this episode. So if you're interested in building around this commander, consider picking some of those up. With all that said, let's talk about the cards that work well with Gorion Wise Mentor. And the first card that came to my mind is probably the card that actually inspired Gorion, with Lucky Clover. Lucky Clover is an artifact that costs 2, and it says whenever you cast an adventure, instant, or sorcery spell, copy, you may choose targets for the copy. So essentially, yeah, this is the exact same thing as our commander, but in artifact form, and yeah, by having this in play, that's an absurd amount of value alongside our commander. Again, just by casting that adventure spell, we get the copy from this, the copy from our commander, and, the original copy too, so that's a 3-for-1 essentially, on top of being able to actually just cast the creature part of that spell as well later. So yeah, Lucky Clover, once you get it in play alongside your commander, can be an incredible start for this deck. I mean, just picture, okay, turn 1 Soul Ring would be great, but turn 1, maybe even don't do anything. Turn 2 Lucky Clover, turn 3 Commander, set yourself up for the next adventure spells that you're going to cast. But of course, when we have just such a pivotal card in this deck, we can utilize cards to tutor for it with cards like, Tribute Mage, Word of Invention, and Fabricate. Tribute Mage has, when it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for an artifact card with converted mana cost 2, reveal it, and put in your hand, then shuffle your library. So yeah, even if we had to pay 5 mana in total to go get Lucky Clover and get it into play, while also getting, a 2/2, that's going to be well worth it for the amount of value that it can provide us throughout the game. Speaking of which, Word of Invention can help us do this at instant speed, and it can actually do it for less if we've got artifacts that can help us improvise for that cost. And it says, search your library for an artifact card with converted mana cost X or less, put on the battlefield, then shuffle your library. So we can just get this right into play out of nowhere and set ourselves up for a powerful next turn. Or, if you're willing to spend a little extra, I think Fabricate's around $7 or so. Yeah, Fabricate can help us too. Search your library for an artifact card, reveal it, put in your hand, then shuffle your library. Of course, there are definitely other ways that we can tutor for this card as well. Another thing that comes to mind is Transmute. I think Muddle the Mixture is a 2-mana, Transmute card. But basically, yeah, when you've got a card that can be as impactful as Lucky Clover, make sure you've got ways to go get it and get it into play. And you can also make sure that you've got ways to actually take advantage of it when it is in play as well, even more with cards like Replication Technique and Clever Impersonator. Replication Technique has Demonstrate, and it says create a token that's a copy of target permanent you control. So essentially to demonstrate when we cast a spell we can copy it, and if we do, we choose an opponent to also copy it. Players can choose new targets for their copies. In our case though, we can go, okay, yeah, let's make a copy of Lucky Clover, and then another copy of Lucky Clover. So yeah, 3 in play plus our commander. Every single time we cast an adventure spell, copy 4 times. And then Clever Impersonator is a clone that can clone a lot of things. It's a 0/0 shapeshifter for 2 blue that says when it enters the battlefield, it enters as a copy of any permanent on the battlefield. So this can just be an extra copy of Lucky Clover, which can provide a ton of value, or, if an opponent has something massive in play as well, maybe copy that instead. Regardless, obviously, these clone and copy spells, copy our commander would be nice, but unfortunately, our commander is legendary, obviously, so we cannot do that because of the legend rule, or we just lose it. That being said, of course, there are some ways to get around that and some decently expensive cards. Really quick, let's highlight Spark Double and Sakashima Thousand Faces. Each of these, yes, would work very well with this commander. They are essentially clones that get around the legend rules, so yeah, essentially, again, just other ways to have even more Lucky Clover effects in play. But yeah, I think each of these are pretty expensive, especially Sakashima. That being said, let's highlight some adventure cards, starting off with some mana-focused adventure cards like Rosethorn Acolyte and Beanstalk Giant. Rosethorn Acolyte has an adventure seasonal ritual for a green at 1 mana of any color. Again, normally this is just mana filtering, but with our commander in play, this is actually a ritual card. And of course, if we've got Lucky Clover and even more Lucky Clovers in play, this can get pretty out of hand, giving us a good amount of mana for just 1. On top of, just helping us ramp when we actually cast this as a creature spell, tapping for 1 mana of any color. Next up, of course, we also have Beanstalk Giant, which is a fantastic card for this commander. It has Fertile Footsteps as the adventure, pay 2 and a green, search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield, then shuffle your library. So again, at a base level with our commander in play, 3 mana, get 2 lands into play tapped. Yeah, that's some fantastic ramp. And of course, it can also be a threat as well. Its power and toughness are each equal to the number of lands we control, so once we get this down, it can hit pretty hard. Moving on really quick, some other adventure cards from Throne of Eldraine. How about Shepherd of the Flock, Giant Killer, and Brazen Borrower? Shepherd of the Flock's adventure is usher to safety and instant for just a white mana. It says return target permanent you control to its owner's hand. So this can be a great way to save one of our permanents from targeted removal, or again, just another way to essentially say, okay, I went on an adventure with this creature, I got it into play, and I'd like to get it back to adventure again so I can double up or even triple up again on that spell. Next up, how about Giant Killer's Adventure? Chop down for 2 and a white, destroy target creature with power 4 or greater. So this can take out a massive creature, and again with our commander in play, 2, or Lucky Clover 3. So yeah, this can actually take out a lot of things at once. And when it's in play, pay 1 and a white, tap target creature, not bad either. And speaking of not bad, yeah, Brazen Borrower is pretty good. It also is a decently expensive card, so I believe around $13. I'm sure this commander is not helping, but yeah. Petty Theft is its adventure, 1 in a blue, return target non-land permanent opponent controls to its owner's hand. Even just with our commander in play, this is bounce 2 things, and again, obviously, it's got even more potential than that. And it can also get some damage in, obviously, as a 3/1 flyer with flash. That can only block creatures with flying, but yeah, that's fine. Next up, I did mention that we are starting to see more and more adventure cards in this set, so I'm just going to highlight these 2 with Dread Lenorm and Illithid Harvester. Dread Lenorn has Scale Deflection for its adventure, an instant for 3 and a green. Put 2/1 counters on target creature and untap it. It gains hexproof until end of turn. So this can help us protect and pump multiple creatures when our commander is in play. And on top of that is a 7/6 that can't be blocked by creatures with power 3 or less, so it can get some damage in for us too. And then Illithid Harvester's adventure is Plant Tadpoles. Pay X blue, tap X target creatures. They don't untap them. Their controller's next untap steps. And again, with this, we can essentially pay half into that X because we're going to be doubling it. So whatever creatures we want to tap down, we probably should just be able to. On top of that, this can be a fantastic card when it does come into play, a 4/4 that has, when it enters the battlefield, turn any number of target tapped non-token creatures face down. They're 2/2 horror creatures. So this is kind of like a one-sided Ixodron in a way. If you have tapped down your opponent's creatures and they're not untapping, you can then play this and just flip them all over and say, I'm sorry, all your creatures are face down now. Good luck getting them back face up. So yeah, these are pretty sweet, especially with that Harvester, and I'm excited to see even more adventure cards in this set that can work really well with this commander. Now, of course, there are plenty of other ways to generate a lot of value with this commander. How about things like Swarm Intelligence and Archmage Emeritus? Swarm Intelligence says, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you may copy that spell, you may choose targets for the copy. So this copies all of our spells, not just our adventures, but again, having, an extra Lucky Clover type effect in play is never going to be a bad thing. And of course, there are other effects like this one that copy your spells. How about Twinning Staff, which can copy your copies? Yeah, there are plenty of fantastic effects out there to pick from. And with all this copying, make sure you are considering Magecraft creatures as well, like Archmage Emeritus. It has Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, draw a card. Obviously, this can provide you an absurd amount of value just having your commander in play, and casting an adventure spell, you're going to be getting a copy, so yeah, you draw 2 off of just that. Again, add in Lucky Clover for even more draw, maybe even, clone the Archmage Emeritus, to get double draw on that too. Things can get pretty absurd. Also, when it comes to draw and adventures, you can also utilize a card like Edgewall Innkeeper. It's a 1/1 human peasant for a green that says whenever you cast a creature spell that has an adventure, draw on a card, and just a note, it doesn't have to go on the adventure first. But obviously with this deck, we're probably going to be taking most of our adventure creatures on adventures to get a lot of value, but yeah, this can just provide us a lot of additional card advantage throughout the game when we're getting those creatures into play. So, of course, we can also include some fantastic creature tutors as well. If you want to get this out or other, fantastic creatures for this deck out, go for it. A budget-friendly one is going to be Bring to Light, which has Converge. Search your library for a creature, instant, or sorcery card with converted mana cost less than or equal to the number of colors of mana spent to cast Bring to Light. Exile that card, then shelf your library. You may cast a card without paying its mana cost. So this can help us cast an instant, sorcery, or yes, a creature. And yeah, essentially, no matter what kind of mana you utilize for this card, if you are going to go get Edgewall Innkeeper, well, it just has 1, mana, so have fun. Speaking of which, Court of Calling is obviously another option if you've got the budget for it. X, green, 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 convoke, and search your library for a creature card, convert mana cost X less on the battlefield, then shuffle your library. You can very easily get out cheap creatures like Edgewall Innkeeper very quickly and efficiently with this. And of course, how about a creature that comes with another creature with Woodland Bellower? It enters the battlefield. You may search your library for a non-legendary green creature card with converted mana cost 3 less, but on the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Edgewall Innkeeper obviously meets that requirement. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think a lot of players out there are going to be very excited to see an adventure commander, one that can provide you a lot of value throughout the game like this one and gives you access to a lot of colors. And of course, it's going to be even more exciting seeing more and more adventure spells come out and more cards that work very well with this commander. I mean, again, that Illithid already works incredibly well with it, essentially, like a one-sided Ixodron after you utilize it, and yeah, I'm excited to see even more adventure spells coming out. And speaking of exciting things, well, make sure you're staying tuned for even more quick takes for more exciting spoilers coming out, I am sure, in the very near future because, well, it seems like we keep getting more and more exciting spoilers each day. And with that, the show is coming to a close, so it's my turn to hear from you. So in the comments below, let me know your thoughts on this episode are, and as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.